All right, everyone, this is definitely a big story, a big negative one, too, although there's a silver lining, which is called this would probably fall apart in a court if it were argued by the Biden admin. The Biden administration has not had a very good track record in court. If you think that Trump has legal problems, keep in mind the number of times that individual Biden proposals have been ruled unconstitutional, mainly on the basis of racial discrimination, actually, which is hilarious considering his administration pretends to be progressive. Progressive to them means giving people money based on the color of their skin because they're in certain industries because more lockdown damage. That didn't go over so well before the courts now, did it? He's even having problems with his anti-gunnery at the moment. And now he's got the bill to end all bills with regards to trying to destroy freedom, which is the Digitalequity plan. The Digitalequity plan is effectively billed as trying to prevent discrimination against users online by companies. So to prevent private firms from abusing people. That's how it's being effectively billed. But if you actually read the legal language within the bill, that's not, I would say, well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't think they have good intentions. Do I think that Joe Biden actually cares if users are discriminated against on platforms when his administration openly calls for them to be discriminated against based on their political views? No, I don't think that. I think he has absolutely no respect for the U.S. Constitution whatsoever. He's shown this a number of times in multiple ways. Can't think of an amendment so far that he hasn't tried to cheapen. What this would actually do is that it would allow the U.S. government to effectively write up the terms of service of websites. They would define what is or is not acceptable, and they can also force the inclusion of things, terms and conditions with regards to end-user license agreement and all of these wonderful things that we have to know more about. TOS on sites would be effectively able to be written by the government. Now, let's say you're a Biden superfan. You've got his fucking face tattooed on your chest. You go, well, Biden would never misuse that power. I trust Biden. Okay, do you trust the next administration? Because it'll have the same capabilities. It would hand the FCC unbridled power over the internet at a level that's not been adopted for any other technological medium, as pointed out by the FCC commissioner himself, Brendan Carr. Yes, the head of a bureau, this is a very rare occasion, is complaining the administration wants to give him too much power. No, we don't have the authority to do that. There's no act of Congress authorizing it, Mr. President, so I can't, you can't go forward with this. The FCC taking a vote soon on whether to adopt the Digitalequity plan. I have a feeling based on the fact that the commissioner says it's a bad idea, it probably won't go through. If it does, you may see the FCC commissioner suing the FCC in court. Just to be clear about how bad it is. Now, but sticks, Brendan Carr was appointed by Donald, you may say. Yeah, and he was reauthorized by Joe Biden, so he kept his job for a reason. He's been a combative figure at times. He's been outspoken before. Everyone knows this if they're sort of on the up and up on the bureaucracy. But this is probably the most bristling language he's used. Again, let us not forget that this is the commissioner of a bureau arguing against expanding the bureau. How many other times can you think of in recent memory that has happened? I can't think of a single instance. I'm sure it has, but, maybe more low-key than this. Giving the U.S. government the ability to write up the terms of service of websites, and to therefore have the ability to effectively blanket ban anyone who says anything at any time using a federal bureau, using the FCC to do so, is so utterly batshit, so terribly asinine, I can almost barely believe that even the Biden administration is crazy enough to put this forth. It's hard to believe. I mean, you've got to be both extremely nuts to think that people are going to find this a good idea. That's number one. And to think that this is the other silver lining. Can you imagine when they try to sloganeer and circle wagons and support this, and they're like, no, it's about anti-discrimination. Digitalequity plan is basically like Patriot Act. Has nothing to do with equity. That's not the point. It should be called the Government Will Take Over the Fucking Internet Act. That's basically what you're proposing. Not because in action the FCC automatically decides to do so, but because you leave the door open to the capability of the FCC instantaneously deciding to destroy any website that it should want. Well, Websites have an arbitrary window of time in which they have to adapt to whatever terms of service we write, correct? Well, what if the terms of service on that site are rewritten in such a way that it would require a complete site overhaul? So the site would effectively have to go down and, recode everything. The code monkeys would have to come in. All the former Salon reporters and stuff that had to learn to code would have great work. The company goes under or stops existing for a month at a time or something like that. Effectively, you could have the FCC doing the political trolling thing to any website that it wanted. Specifically sites that platform. I don't think this would apply to individual private sites, but if the site platforms others, and that's the bulk of internet content, they would be subject to the FCC's whims. The FCC could therefore cripple any of these sites that it wanted. Now, you may say, eternal optimist as you are, and most of you are more on the black-pilled side. Don't be black-pilled either. But that won't happen, Sticks. It'd be way, way too transparent that the abuse was going on. People wouldn't tolerate it. That's funny. I don't see anyone speaking out against the SEC taking down Odyssey, or Library rather, with their shit crypto case, which is clearly abusive and wrong and exceeds their authority. I don't see anyone particularly making a lot of noise about that. The SEC goes after companies. The IRS. IRS goes after people all of the time with differential enforcement. This has even been weaponized in the explicit and revealed sense with Lois Lerner under Obama. It's happened before. We know that the FBI targets people wrongfully. We know the NSA workers are capable of targeting anyone they want by putting in love int into the intel gathering and spy on anyone they want. Their ex-girlfriend, their mom, their next-door neighbor, and they can get away with it. This never ended, by the way. It is quite still literally ongoing. It happens all the time. Anytime you have an authority mechanism, it can be misused. Why create one for the entire internet and hand it to the ever-changing assortment of people that run the FCC? It would be utterly insane. It would literally ruin the internet. You could also call it the "we don't want to have an internet anymore" bill. We would rather people have to use European sites or something like that on a VPN because we're going to collapse every US-based site that exists. It would upend the entire concept. The whole premise of the internet is a place where people can go in and create content, share it with others, interact with others, and so forth, platform other people, would die. It wouldn't be workable anymore. I mean, you could still have .coms. You could go back to the .com era, I suppose, as long as you're not selling anything. I think that would fall under this bill's purview too. So if you don't want to make any money or interact with anyone else in any meaningful sense, the internet will be a great encyclopedia. Wikipedia will still be there. The FCC won't touch them. As long as they promise not to have anyone privately contribute to their pages. Pro tip, you already can't for most of them anyway, so their model changed a little bit over the last decade. The FCC commissioner is telling Biden he doesn't want the power. That's something else. Biden will probably have some smart things to say about that, I'm sure. That's about all. Peace out.